Yes. Hi, hello, everyone. We are kicking off this live stream here with Tembi, and we are a few minutes ahead of time just to make sure that everything is working accordingly. And we'll give everyone that has signed up a minute to join. While we wait for that, can introduce myself. I'm Thomas, and I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Tembi. And to those of you that don't know what Tembi is, essentially what we do is we capture large open data sources from open directories, company directories, building directories, websites, and more, put all of that information together into our foresight engine, and then we are able to come out with market intelligence that can be used by some of our clients that are from various segments and industries to know more than they knew before they had the data. And today we are focusing on the part of our business that is on e-commerce, and specifically the last mile parcel delivery sector, which we have worked a lot with in the last few years at Tembi. And I'll just give everyone a second here and to join in. We are broadcasting this on various channels, and throughout the session today there will be an opportunity to ask questions. You don't have to listen to me throughout the entire session. I brought some of my brilliant colleagues that knows much more about the sector than I do, but you have a chance of asking questions. Put it in the comments of whatever platform you are seeing this on, and we have a brilliant moderator, Michael, standing by and helping us convey the questions so that we can actually answer it. So feel free to ask questions at any time. But again, representing Tembi, I'm Thomas, and the Chief Commercial Officer here at Tembi. We are a market insight company, and let's try and kick off because today we are focusing on the last mile parcel industry, and it's an industry that we work with for many years. We have basically worked across Europe and had dialogues and also a lot of clients within the segments amongst the market leaders in the domestic markets, but also last mile providers working across markets. And I brought in two colleagues of mine, also from Tembi, to help me enlighten you all on how you can leverage deep market intelligence in doing better sales, intelligence building, go-to-market strategies within the last mile sector. I brought Christian, who's one of our original founders of the company, and also today our head of product development. And Christian is the one with all of the ideas and making sure that all of the customer requirements and the ideas that we have goes into the product at one point or another. And also I brought Giada, and Giada is our brilliant head of customer success, and no one has spent more time with last mile delivery providers than Giada has on both understanding what they tactically are doing, but also how can you put that into your operations when you start utilizing data. So welcome both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
So let's kick this off. I'll start with you, Christian. Now, I already put a few words on the work done at Tembi, but tell me a little more about what this, deep market intelligence in the last mile sector actually means.
Thank you, Thomas. And as you said, I'm working as the product owner here in Tembi, and what we are doing is that we overall actually are able to capture and bring data for specifically the last mile into to intelligence. So what this means is that we are working on, and have created a scalable model where we are currently in 15 markets and operating as a market leader within last mile. So not only focusing on e-commerce, but more specifically on last mile delivery that we can see is a rapidly growing industry.
And you, Giada, I guess more, where Christian has been spending a lot of time strategizing with the last mile delivery companies, you are the one executing with them and putting all of that into operations. Can you put a few more words on your day-to-day?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Thomas. So, customer success manager, for those who are not aware of what it is a role that is quite fundamental in the adoption, but also in your entire customer journey. So, as Thomas said, I'm very much hands-on. I'm the one that is responsible to onboard the clients, but also to define a little bit what are their success criteria, what they wanted to achieve with our tool, but also with their new data intelligence strategy. And I make sure that their criteria and their goals are always met. So we have one-to-one calls. It depends a little bit on their needs, if it is quarterly or monthly. And then I make sure also that whatever project they're working on, I can advise them in the best way. And I'm also, of course, the advocate for them inside the company.
Great. And then, so we've seen so much growth in the e-commerce sector in the last 10 years, and like there should be enough business for everyone, right? And how hard can it be? Isn't it just, look up a e-commerce site that sort of fits your product and then call them up and listen if they, do you want us to make a better delivery than you had yesterday? That would be my imagination going into this, but so why is it important, and what are the advantages of working with market intelligence in this sector? Maybe Christian, you can start on that.
Yeah, of course. And Thomas, what you mentioned here is exactly how this industry was operating back in time. Many of the last mile providers is coming from a mail industry and is converting over to doing parcels. And this change of having the perspective of saying inside out, where you actually are focusing on, okay, what is our offering, what is our services, and who should we reach out to? And I mean, that is how we see a change now in the behavior, where you go much more outside in. So you start focusing on, okay, how is the market dynamics, how are things developing, and by doing that, you can also impact your business and get a much stronger, but also aligned sales organization when it comes to new sales, but also when it comes to product development, what kind of service, what kind of offering. So changing the entire behavior of having a focus on how the market acts and how the customer acts is something that changed the entire behavior in the last mile industry.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But Giada, from a practical perspective, what does it require for an organization to start working with this? What is the
Yes.
typical, yeah?
There are a couple of points that are very, very important that we see, especially in the initial phase. So there is a shifting into also the data that you're analyzing and how you prepare your systems, such as, for instance, a CRS system, into embracing this data. So we see, for instance, a very practical case is how you shift from looking only at company information into analyzing more data that are related to the web shop. Also because in many cases, we see a company owning different kind of web shops, so the product might change quite a lot across them. Besides that, you need to look into also shifting a little bit the approach that you have with your KPIs and the strategy, but also prioritize this adoption that is much more data-driven. So it's something that it has to be clear to the entire team once they decided to embark on this new approach.
Okay, so I get the reason, I get how you do it. I think probably a lot of people listening in are curious on, like, can we get some real live examples on this? So maybe both of you could sort of give us some example on how you work with the last mile delivery agents and the difference it has made for them.
Absolutely. I have a few practical examples that are coming from working with clients. So we start, of course, usually traditionally with the sales team, the sales approach, but we can see that the data that are provided, that they can really be used across the organization in different departments. Some of the cases that we have seen, for instance, for the sales team are defining the ideal customer profile, especially when it comes for bigger clients. And this has helped, in particular, I had a case where the sales team has used the data that are available in the tool to customize pitches for major leads, and leverage the knowledge that they had, not only for the products that they were offering, but also for in-depth data. So for instance, systems, platforms, and other information that were available in our tool. We also have examples that are a little bit more scalable, in the sense that it moves from one-to-one into having a little bit of a broader overview of the leads that are available. And in particular, there is this case that we have seen where one of our clients has focused in collecting leads for a specific product launch, and they have also analyzed the competition on the market, because they wanted to position themselves strategically before the launch. I have a further example, and Thomas, you tell me when when you feel that is too much, because I have tons of them, of course, but also want to be mindful about the time. So when it comes, for instance, to marketing a campaign, we have seen that different companies have used this overview of data to identify specific target groups that could be more sensitive to the marketing effort. One example, for instance, was to focus on new cross-border shipping, and they used different kind of data for that, such, for instance, the language option that were available on the web shop, but also the information of the exporting countries that were targeted by the web shop. We have different kind of approaches also when it comes to look at the business development and the strategy, because you have so many insights, and also because there are different kind of analytical views that are available from the data that we have. We have seen that the head of the sales teams have used in several moments this data to monitor the strategy success rates. Okay. And last but not least, I would like to add the monitor of checkout. And I think that Christian can tell a little bit more about it, but we are seeing that there is a lot of focus that is increasing into monitoring your position in the checkout.
I think it's an interesting point that you brought forward here. So not only just being able to find the ICP using the insights on the web shops, but also leveraging that in the dialogue with them afterwards, which I think makes a lot of, being also having a sales background myself. I know that one thing is finding the right potential clients, but it's also next is like, what do we speak to them about? And I think that's a really good point. Then you mentioned the monitoring part, and Christian, you maybe have an example on that part as well.
Yeah, so when we are talking about checkouts and also monitoring, we in general see this trend of having a focus on the last part of the customer journey, because it is the checkout where the end user do the final purchase. So what we can see in the data and also how companies have started to work with this is that we have roughly 60% of all volume is actually going to the first positions in the checkout. And of course, what that means is that if you're not working strategically with this, you will both have customers in your CRM system that you underestimate, which means that they are not giving the right services, the right attention, because you basically only see the volume that you get, but actually competitor is having a much higher position, which also gives them the volume. So we see a trend of having not only a focus on the acquisition of the customer, but also what is actually happening afterwards. And what we also can see when we focus on this is that the webshop owners, they of course also want to get and offer the best services to the last mile, to the end users, and they are representing the last mile's services. So we see in 80% of all the checkouts where we are collecting data from that the cheapest one in 80% of the cases is actually also the first position. So there is also a high balance between the price here and the offering, and also the positioning. And this is not just a market where you go out and acquire a new web shop, they pop up all the time, but there's also how do you actually work with it more strategically when it comes to the checkout and services and offerings.
And what are some of the results that you've seen from this, like from some of your clients that have worked really deep in that? I understand that you can win 60-70% of the orders, but what does that mean in practice? If you start as a last mile delivery, organizing this and winning more first positions, have you seen any tangible results in this?
Yes, we have, and we can see that when companies, of course, depending on how tactically they work with this, but what we see in general is that you can, by having a real focus on this and also start offering the webshop owners some other services, you can actually increase the revenue from existing customers to everything between 30 to 60%, depending on what you can offer them, but also how you can manage your deal. And what happens after this is, of course, that the webshop owners also have some, what you can say, they offer you the best position for a certain period, and because they can also guarantee you a certain volume. But what you can also happen afterwards is that they can do the same to other carriers. So also being able to actually monitor and overview that the webshop owner is also taking that part of the deal seriously and not just go to the next one and offer the same is also what we see, and how you can actually keep this revenue stream that is generated.
Yeah, because let's come back to that, because I have a question before we go into how can you actually stand out in this field and use this data. But Giada is speaking about client acquisition. You spoke or gave some examples on client optimization or revenue optimization of current clients. So just curious on how do you see that being balanced out there? Of course, if you are a huge market leader with 70% of the market, obviously customer optimization is revenue optimization is where you want to go, and vice versa. But I'm just like, how do you see that being balanced from the companies within the sector right now?
So what we see here is that in the past, the last mile carriers, their service stopped when they reached the webshop owner, and then the webshop owner took care of the rest. However, in a more digitalized world, where also end users want more insight, they want more understanding of what they're buying, we actually see that the last mile providers is also start focusing on the checkout. And in the checkout, we can see many examples of bad, but also good. I mean, the worst thing, I think we all have tried it, is to go in, find it could be nice shoes, go to the checkout, and what you see is standard delivery. And what does that mean? Standard delivery for 30 Danish kroner. Okay, who is the carrier? When will it be delivered? Is it home? Is it to a parcel shop? Is it a box? What is it? And we see a change in behavior that the last mile providers actually want to control this part of the journey as well, because they are working on better service, better offering, better understanding, more insights to the end user. So of course they also want to connect their own data, their own APIs to the checkout. So we have actually sometimes looked into what we can call a best practice of a checkout, where you really want to make sure that all your services there. So home delivery, it can be parcel shop, parcel box, even business delivery is a thing in Denmark. But also that you make sure the prices are correct, delivery time, the customer can select which parcel shop or box it goes to. All these kind of best practices is actually also a way to make sure that you increase the volume in the checkout, and not only for yourself, but also when it comes to conversion rate for the webshop owner. So in that way, it becomes like a win-win situation.
And from your side, Giada, is that also what you're seeing when you're working practical with the last mile providers, that they understand that the opportunities of being able to present yourself better has
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there is something that I wanted to add to what Christian has mentioned. Their touch with end users started at checkout, how they are represented, as Christian is mentioning, how many days, or if it is same day delivery, what are the methods, if it is private or in a shop or in a parcel locker. So this is already where their final user experience starts and how it can impact then their business with the webshop. But we're also seeing, for instance, webshops are much more advanced, and we're seeing that they are adding more and more systems, marketing tools, a lot of AI algorithm that can increase the conversion rate. And we can see that in order to keep up with that game, we need also to step up a little bit the kind of plugins that we're offering in the market, and having an overview into what are the trends, what are the tools that the webshop owner are aiming for out there, or even, for instance, a very basic information on which platforms of e-commerce is mostly used, that can facilitate a lot the checkout experience and the plugins that they can develop that could be integrated in a checkout fast system, in a payment system, or a TA system, for instance.
Okay. So to those of you that just joined in, we are discussing how to leverage deep market intelligence within the last mile sector. I have Christian here, head of product at Tembi, and Giada also from Tembi, working with customer success. And we are discussing last mile delivery across Europe, which is what we predominantly work with. I want to dive into something that is a huge focus everywhere at the moment, which is, of course, delivery methods. Out of home, package boxes, you're seeing new things popping up everywhere, and it seems like a world of solutions that are coming in. And what are your insights on this? Christian, you can start on that.
Yeah, so actually what we see here is also a trend that is really market specific. So what I mean with this is that, as an example, in Denmark, you can get your shoes that you ordered online delivered to your workspace. That is not something that is offered in other countries. While if we go in and look more at the Baltics, they have a much higher focus on parcel boxes. While we see that trend coming more and more in Denmark, where we have the parcel shops as the most common way of getting your delivery. And this is actually a trend there that we see rolling about, both having specific type of delivery methods, but also giving the end user the possibility to track for home delivery. And what I mean here is that many of us have tried not to be home when the parcel is arrival. So instead, actually being able to get evening delivery or in an app change to where you can change to a delivery location, change it to a neighbor, and so on. So that entire digitalization is also happening when it comes to delivery method, and also give the customer the possibility to actually adjust and change when they are going to receive it, depending on vacation, work, life, and so on and so on. So it becomes much easier.
And if I may add one point to that, as you said, Christian, there are different preferred delivery method across the countries, but we are seeing also that there are some countries that have a lot of focus into green delivery, and that is also something that we see carriers putting a lot of effort into how this is represented at the checkout. So we could have, for instance, a bike delivery rather than on a vehicle, or focusing on electrical vehicles, and we know that there are some users in specific countries, such for instance Sweden, that are focusing a lot into choosing a provider that is green.
Really good.
That's a great point, and it brings me to my next question. Is as you mentioned green delivery, Christian, you also mentioned that in many cases the top ranking webshop delivery agent on a webshop is the cheapest option, which brings me to the question: how do you, in a fairly competitive market but also a growth market, how do you stand out outside of just lowering the price?
And what we see is that of course price matters, but we are also down and talking often in average few krones, that is the difference in the or euros in the checkout. And what we then see is that, as Giada mentioned here, as an example, green delivery is a great way to stand out, because as some people want actually to pay more to get a green delivery, see a trend in this. They also accept that it's okay that a parcel costs a bit more for getting a home delivery, but if you pay for it, you also want the right service, right? And then we are back to this about potential evening delivery, or getting delivered in front of your door, or getting that service and options to actually adjust during the process. So there is value to when you inform the customers and actually follow the best practice when it comes to the checkout. And also another trend we see in this area is also the what we call express delivery. I mean, all of us has been tried to stand Wednesday evening or even Thursday evening, and there is a party in the weekend coming, and you want some new clothes. So actually deliver on time and go for express. People are ready to pay more for it, especially of course if the basket size is at a certain level.
You have something to add, Giada? I can just...
Yes, I would like to add something also, because being a customer success manager, we're all about the customer experience and how we work together. So of course, all the points that Christian and you, Thomas, have mentioned are incredibly important. But when looking at the customer journey, I think that is important to look at the trends where we're shifting from a very unique touch point at the beginning, and that's it, into being very much a trusted advisor, especially when we have incredible peak season, like for instance Black Friday or Christmas. For a last mile carrier is super important in this moment to make sure that the customer is satisfied with the service, that there are no delays, and also because we see that when the web shop receive reviews, sometimes they can get a bad review because of the shipping service, so one goes with the other.
Okay, great point. And which brings me, and I think this is for you, Giada, because we've spoken about a lot of different things. It would be great to know this and this and this, but to start out with this, like we are standing ahead, just in front of the peak season for everyone working in last mile deliveries and also for e-commerce at all. How much data do you and insights do you need to get started on this? Because it sounds to me like, wow, how do I start, right?
No, you don't need to know a lot, but you need to know the right things. So we have talked about the ideal customer profile, right? So I would say starting from there, getting a good data trusted advisor to get started into navigating into this information, preparing your CRM system, which is very, very easy. Is just adding a few properties and options, just looking at which data you need to embrace, and having a clear plan. So say, okay, first step, what do we want to achieve, and then go further down. It doesn't have to be everything clear since the very first step, but I think that the adoption that you want to go through has to be quite clear.
Okay, so in sort of sum up here to finish off, anyone watching this and thinking, okay, this actually sounds fairly smart, we could do more on this or whatever. What would your advice, and this is for both of you, what would your advice be to, get started on utilizing data and deep insights into their day-to-day operations and commercial operations?
So there is, in my opinion, you can say two ways, and the first one is, of course, to go the hard way, and that would be making a strategic decision of changing this entire perspective of inside out to outside in. So actually driving a digitalization agenda where you also need to involve your CTO, the developers, and change the entire behavior. And of course, there is also the fast way here, and the fast way is reaching out to Tembi, right? We are doing this in 15 markets now, and the model is scalable, so we're ready to take the rest of Europe.
Okay, so there we have it, an open invitation to connect with Christian and Giada and use their insights. And I think I can speak for both of you, saying like you would love nothing more than just to start having an informal conversation without any commitments on that. So please feel free to reach out. To finish off here, I just want to make sure that we cover any questions that we have from anyone listening in, and we are getting some comments from different platforms, and I can see one of them. Maybe this could be for you, Giada. Which markets does Tembi cover? Where do you have all of this data from, Giada?
That's a very good question. So we are present at the moment mainly in Europe. We have 15 countries where we're already present, but we have a very scalable approach to market. So whenever we need to open a new market, depending a little bit on the size, of course, but it will take us approximately 3 weeks.
And I know probably we have some of the listeners here or watchers interested in also cross-border shipping. Is that, when you have several markets, is that something you're able to see on how
Yes.
does that work?
Yes, we have different kind of approaches for that, but it's absolutely possible. So then I don't want to get too technical because it would be a little bit complicated to explain, but we have different ways of tracking this cross-border operation, and we have actually different kind of modules for that.
And just as an add-on to what Giada is saying, cross-border in general is something that we see becoming more and more important because customers are international, and a web shop that is located in Denmark is okay, but you also once in a while want to buy something from Germany. And funny enough, what we can see sometime in our data is that a Ryanair ticket between Copenhagen and Berlin is cheaper than a parcel delivery. So it is a place where changes also will happen when it comes to the entire cross-border and international customers.
I think we have time for just one last question here before we have to finish off for today. And I just received this. So it says, outside of delivery partners, I'm also interested in where e-commerce companies has their warehouses. Is that something that's possible to know as a part of that market intelligence? Maybe Christian, you can.
Yeah, and actually it's connect also as bit to the cross-border thing, because what we can see and where our next developer is going is to also have a focus on the warehouse location. So actually being able to see not just which web shop that is shipping and where they ship to, but also where they ship from. So you can actually start locating what type of, where is their location with high volume, where they grouped together. We also start seeing some trends for some web shops that you want to have a more centralized warehouse, maybe multiple places in Europe, depending on delivery time, or centralized one place. So being able to see not only the web shop, the checkout, but also go a step further and see where should I then pick it up is like the next part of this journey.
Exciting, and that could be an entire topic in itself. We're out of time. And thank you both, Christian and Giada, for participating and answering questions. To everyone listening in, if you're curious to learn more, to have an informal and uncommitting conversation with Giada or Christian or both of them, reach out, connect with them on LinkedIn, reach out via Tembi's website, and then they'll get back to you right away. You can also reach out to me, of course. Thank you all for listening in. Thank you again, Christian, Giada. Have a nice rest of the day to everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.